taking a few minutes to joining the Zoom.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Let me see who are online. We have Tracy, Sunny, Irina, Ravi, Surab, Vicky, Yanzhao. Yeah. Sunny, are you still in Vienna?
No, I'm back to Seattle already.
Okay. How was it? How was it?
Yeah, it went really well. I put an agenda item on today's agenda in terms of syncing out a quick recap. But yeah, the event was very full. And I can definitely see that we were slowly back to the swing before COVID in terms of event registration, which is great. But yeah, Vienna, beautiful city. Would love to go back someday.
Double win. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we can get started. Let me see how to start recording. Oh, it's automatically started.
Yeah, I think it's already recording.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for sharing the Etherpad for notes. Let's do the agenda batch first. I see that yeah, OSSEU, great. Yeah, SONiC prioritization second. The event planning, yeah. Okay, today we have a full plate to work on. And then OCP to close, yeah. Yeah, okay. So how about let's get started. The first one is SONiC booth and mini summit at OSS issue. Sunny, do you mind to share that your takeaways?
Yeah, perfect. So as folks might know, we had a SONiC booth during the 3 days Open Source Summit EU in Vienna last week. And then on the last day, we had a SONiC co-located event, SONiC Mini Summit at the event as well. So overall, Open Source Summit EU was, like I said, the event was really full. And the SONiC booth, we had I think 4 to 5 demos every day, and for that whole event. And in terms of 4 to 5 demos, they're the same demo every day. I think we only received 5 demo proposals for this event. And a lot of community members came to visit us, but I would say overall the booth traffic wasn't as great as I thought. I think it also has a lot to do with the location. The nonprofit booths are all the way in the back of the solution showcase. There were actually 2 big rooms for solution showcase, which was a little confusing to navigate. But we collect some good leads. We had 40 leads, not as many as I expected. But we mainly get 2 types of people to the booth. One has absolutely zero clue of SONiC and just started the open source community, and one wants to engage, wants to contribute to SONiC. But overall, in terms of the audience, it's definitely very open source centric instead of networking. So it will be very different audience from OCP. And in terms of the SONiC Mini Summit, we had 38 registered attendees on site. There were about 20 to 25 in-person attendees. And yeah, very engaging sessions. I felt pretty good walking out of the co-located event. A lot of great questions were asked. But in terms of if we should do it again next year, I would definitely love to reevaluate with the community members here. It's just in terms of the attendance and the number of visitors to our booth, definitely not as the same as what I expected. So maybe my bar was pretty high.
Very nice, very nice. Any like feedback or any comments from the attendees or booth attendees?
Yeah,
interesting ones.
Yeah, so the main feedback we got, definitely the booth was a lot more quiet than the attendees expected, but for the co-located event, it was a pretty great success. And lots of great questions after each session. So I think the booth was definitely not, not as great as we thought, and it has a lot to do with the type of audience attending Open Source Summit as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I see Arena is on the call as well. I know Taras was at the event. Arena, were you there as well?
Oh, sorry. You talk about Pale Vision, right? No?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for the. Okay. So I got some feedback from Taras. He was at the collocated event SONiC Mini Summit, and his expectations was lower for this event. But in general, we find a wide range of enterprise and enterprise potential customers for our solutions, SONiC based solutions. I mean, so it much interesting in this area because OCP usually we have a lot of ASIC vendors, chip vendors, OEM, ODMs, etc. A lot of community representatives. During the Open Source Summit, we found a lot of enterprises who are interested in SONiC based technologies and solutions. So I think the feedback from Taras is not bad from this point of view. But talking about SONiC focused event, it was smaller, of course, smaller than OCP global or regional. So we have such feedback for this event. I think next year or next time we are going to consider this event as well for participating.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Then this one actually will help us, right, for the next SONiC event planning for the next year. So any other comments or questions or thoughts towards this OSS EU event before we move to the next topic?
Just one quick thing I want to mention here. So for the SONiC booth, as I think I posted quite a lot on LinkedIn, on SONiC LinkedIn page. So if you want to check out what the booth looked like, yeah, feel free to go on our LinkedIn. We did receive some feedback that the tablecloth really stand out a lot for the booth. And so I think that's definitely a good call. And we also have displayed I think 3 swags there too, with SONiC stickers, camera covers, and some SONiC flyers. And I think for OCP Global, and those swags were well received by the attendees as well. And for OCP Global Summit, we would like to definitely get a little more creative with the swags, although our booth will be much smaller for that event. But yeah, I think definitely having fun swags will be a good way to draw the audience to the booth as well. Yeah, we can reuse the tablecloth for future events.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. Then let's move to the next topic. Event and performance. Do you mind to move a little bit down? Yeah. Mini summit priorities. Okay. So for priority that this is getting to the last quarter of the year, like OCP is operating in the way of when getting close to this year, we set the priorities for TSC, for outreach, for the board, like as a general for SONiC community, and then the next year start to execute it. So one is priority. We need to define, take a look on what's happening in this year, anything to take forward to the next year. The second part is the budget planning. It's also on this agenda. So we will come to budget planning next as the last topic. So while we are here, SONiC priority. So can you remind us, Tracy or Sunny, that the deadline for priority?
So what we're trying to do is make sure that we use this meeting to have an initial conversation, because we don't expect to be able to get through it. And then the next meeting to kind of make sure we feel pretty comfortable in what we want to put in front of the board. The September board meeting, the board used their time having an initial conversation about board level priorities, which the October 9th board meeting, they're going to finalize that. And we're going to preview the TSC and outreach priorities. That's the goal. So that the thinking is, if we have a decent sense of what we want, and Shin, you go into the meeting and Sunny's in the meeting on October 9th and say, hey, here's what outreach is thinking. The board can react to that, have a conversation. We come back together in October, finalize everything, and then we're ready for the November board meeting, which is where they will vote on the budget. So we need to get their input and their initial reaction on October 9th so that we can then make any adjustments that we need to make and be ready for the vote in November. That's kind of my thing.
So I sit on the board and I have a couple of comments here, right? One, I think from my perspective, when we present whatever we present to the board, I would really like there to be some kind of marketing strategy or story that we want to tell to align with the general board objectives versus just simply saying we're going to do a bunch of events. My challenge here is we've done a good job generally in the last couple of years on developer engagement, developer acquisition. But from a user or general adoption perspective, I don't think we've really hit what we need to hit. So before we even talk about like budget, it's important to understand what's the story and the objectives that the marketing organization will do to help support the governing board objectives. Maybe it would be worthwhile having a short readout of that. So we discussed this at length in last 2 weeks ago, right, Tracy? About what we want to achieve.
At the board level?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't have the revised version. I do still have the draft version. And essentially the board is focused on strategy, growth, and market, some of which is, to continue what they've been doing around adoption, ease of use. And actually, let me pull up. I feel like I can talk to this a little bit better from the meeting minutes. But so basically there are three priorities that they drafted and the fourth that they came up with. The first was, to continue to focus on strategy, growth, and, growing the market. As a subset of that, they talked a little bit about geographies to focus on, and they agreed it was Japan, China, and India were the geos that they wanted to focus on. And then they also talked a little bit about the use of SONiC in AI, but they agree they kind of need a more detailed strategy discussion on that. And
yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
the first bullet, the first part is where I have the most challenge, right? We talk about adoption or growth. We have to really define what that means. And because you can grow in two vectors. You can grow in terms of three vectors, actually. You can grow in terms of number of developers, right? How many people are actually actively working on the project? You can grow in terms of number of adopters or share, how much of the market is actually utilizing SONiC in its current target markets, or you can grow in terms of expanding what the use cases that SONiC covers. So right now we're focused on data center, AI, in some cases what we're calling enterprise edge, maybe service provider. So the reality is, unless we talk about or focus what we mean by growth, it's very hard to market, because you can't really broadly target everything. It won't come off as genuine, and you'll have a very diluted message in terms of what we do in the next year. So I think in this forum, we should be very crisp in defining how we attack that first objective when we define growth, right? And like basically make a statement saying this is what we mean by growth for this year. Board, do you agree? And if so, this is how we go and get there, right? And because I've been a part of this committee for the last couple of years, and historically the focus is really, if you look at all these events that we do, it's highly technical, highly architectural, right? We talk a lot about like all these cool things that you can do with SONiC, or techniques that are enabled by SONiC, but never about adoption of SONiC. And I really think now is the time we have to shift that focus, because we have a good developer ecosystem and community. We also have a good set of use cases that SONiC addresses, but we need to now focus on getting the adoption curve up, which is a user-focused metric. So that would be my suggestion. When we talk before, at least, not to hijack the meeting, but at least until we understand or agree on the objective, it's really, really hard to plan for, plan a marketing calendar. You see what I'm saying?
So I think you are right about customer focusing, right? Our action objective was not only about event for last year. We also have story sharing, right? We build multiple like customer story blogs, like already published 3 or Sunny this year.
Yeah, we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alibaba Orange, that's already Walmart, 3 user stories have already published.
Right. A few coming. I would love to ask Kishore, right? If you have any idea, can you propose, like, how do you define and what in your mind, to drive that? I do agree that objective is what is very sound, but would like to solicit ideas of what to do.
This is sort of, I can, one of the ideas I was thinking of is,
sure,
like, we have the participating members kind of preaching SONiC as a technology and how good it is, etc. Right? For years now.
Yeah.
Maybe we start with the participating members, like while we have the users, the broader industry kind of, adopting SONiC, rolling it out into production across different use cases. We start with the participating member organizations and ask them and probe them, like, how are they deploying SONiC, right? In what use cases, what capacities, what are their plans about SONiC and things like that. I mean, one such example could be, right, us drinking our own champagne, where we have SONiC deployed across Dell IT now, and we are actively scaling that across the board, and SONiC will be the primary network operating system for all of Dell IT across both our data centers and all of the campus, branch offices, customer solution centers, EBCs, manufacturing sites, all the supply chain hubs and things like that. So, I mentioned this to Sunny earlier when we met, I think at OCP, that I'm working with our marketing team to capture the Dell IT story in a case study, in a collateral, and happy to kind of contribute that into Linux Foundation to demonstrate the art of the possible with SONiC. So maybe that could be one of the things we can start at the board and and champion that, because some of these participating organizations, we have some really large scales across the board, so we could share some of our best practices while we push the industry and push the users to kind of share theirs.
Great idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Sarah, and I would love to definitely work with you on that. We do have a template for SONiC case studies, so if it helps, I can share that with you, and we can sync via email.
Yeah, I feel this use case studies, our form could have multiple, right? One is in the blog, right? In our wiki blog solution section, or also we could have solution demo in the booth. that in all sorts of coming events, we at this moment we have several major events, like that demo could be the theme could be the user scenario, that how they use it.
And then eventually maybe take this to the next level of creating like a case study guidebook for SONiC. So we have, with one with Alibaba, then, we have Microsoft, study around SONiC and how Azure is championed by SONiC. We could have Dell captured us. I can reach out to Hanif and Broadcom, Ram and Hassan to capture the Broadcom IT deployment, done with SONiC. So we can, and like that, other participating members, I'm sure that they're looking at it as well. So we could create like a case study guidebook showing different organizations, from silicon vendors to ODMs, OEMs, to user groups, kind of deploying, SONiC across the board. And this is going to be, variety of use cases. I mean, just within Dell IT, I see we have AI and non-AI workloads. We have some campus sites where you need power internet and things like that. And there may be some features who are not available in SONiC, but in due course will find their way in. But the art of the possible and the scale and the impact of this technology could be captured in these blocks and in case studies.
Yeah, so Sarab, I think this is a great idea. But I think before we dive into the how we do something, I think we really need to drive agreement on our marketing strategy, which is not coming across. Like, there's a lot of avenues, or let's say things that can be done within the member community. I fully agree, and this is a good suggestion. But you have to kind of have our, I hate to use this term, but the North Star, so to speak, that we're chasing, that kind of sets the strategy and agenda for the next year. And it's just still not clear to me from this perspective what that strategy is going to be. And I think we need to agree on that first before we discuss all of what we can do. Right.
Sure. So, I agree with you on that. The way I kind of see this as a North Star is, the outreach, as the keyword says, right? This is to grow advocacy of the technology and what it can do, for the users. So there are different dimensions to it. One is the user impact, the art of the possible and the innovation it brings, the community element it brings, and open standards. My focus, or my priority would be more around, showing the art of the possible and bringing the user group to talk about what it has done for them.
Yeah, but my challenge with this is it's not a measurable action or strategy. Like, advocacy is great, right? But it's purely outbound. But how does that actually translate into a tangible objective that the governing board is setting out in the next couple of years? And this is the challenge that I have with this. Like, for example, if the board's objective is growth, and we define growth in a certain way, right? Like, maybe it's growth of users, then advocacy is a tool that we have to grow users, and we can measure against it, right? Like, for example, the last few years we used, developer. I mean, it was pretty clear our objectives were growing the developer community. And we have a bunch of new members that joined in, and we have all these leads, and I think we've been largely successful. Now, if the definition of growth is shifting to user-based growth, right? Then we need to have a set of strategic initiatives within marketing that drive that growth.
It's not just follow you there, but I do believe it's twofold, right? There's also a technology development element where we want to continue to have, the developer community grow, contributing more, and then at the same time, have the users also kind of follow the journey of growth and adoption.
Yeah, these I find them to be somewhat independent with respect to marketing objectives. So I'm not saying that we don't stop marketing to developers. That's not what I'm advocating here. But my whole kind of thought process is there needs to be a very clear strategic objective or set of objectives that have measurable, tangible outcomes that we work towards. And I'm not hearing it right now. And I would suggest we focus on those things. Because once we have it, it sets a guideline for all of the activities we do in the next 12 to 18 months, right? And obviously advocacy is going to be a big part of that. But in addition to advocacy, we need to have, let's say, ways to measure our success, and how we use or set up our events, how we set up our collateral, our blogs, any webinars that we do, all of that. It kind of just sets a guideline. And
Yeah.
I would really think we need to have that before we start talking about specific things to be done.
Well, and
Yeah.
even the events that we choose to go to, everything now is very technical and it's developer oriented. But if we switch to the user and marketing to the user, we should be looking at user events. And there are some that may, whether it's who is the audience that's most likely to adopt SONiC, the early adopters, and then where we're going to sneak in at the other levels. But there's events that are targeted just to end users, and those might supersede some of the developer investment, rather
Yeah,
events we're investing in.
So I think my suggestion here is, we should debate this as to what our definition of growth should be, and then go to the board and get feedback. Because until we have that clear, it's really, really hard to put together any sort of marketing plan for the next 18 months.
Well, what are your suggestions on metrics, though? Like if the end objective is users this year, what are the objectives? The metrics that could be used?
Well, actually,
Is it
what I'm saying,
downloads, or is it implementations of SONiC, and how do we know how many SONiC implementations there are outside of our marketing group that can put together ones that we know? But like, how do we capture how many SONiC downloads there are across the globe, and is it based on how many SONiC downloads there are, or those metrics that you're mentioning? How do we get there?
I think that's going a little too
tedious,
too far down. Yeah, at this point, right? My only concern right now is I just want us to be clear as a committee that we have to develop a strategic objective. I'm not trying to dictate what that objective should be. We just have to have a direction. And once we have the direction, then it's approved by the board, then we can dive into the next details, right, of how we actually get there, what metrics to build. It's like building any other marketing plan that we do, right? So that would be my suggestion, and I'm open to feedback. But if we agree that we need to build some form of strategic objective, we should start talking about what those could be to address the higher level vision the board has set out across those 3 elements or 4 elements, right? Does that make sense? I mean, I hope it makes sense. It's just something that's been bothering me for a while.
So I feel it makes sense, and Kishore, but I would love that, for example, you to help to like give a few examples. I think it totally makes sense. But when we talk about adoption, right, like for example, you come like with what metrics could we think of, right?
Sure.
I think we are talking about when we talk about many of us are very hands-on, when we talk about the objective, automatically we will think of how to reach it, if that is realistic or not, right? But we could put it down. We would love to hear something concrete, right? Concrete, and then everyone can come with their idea and put on the table, and then discuss. Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair, and I'm happy to provide some suggestions.
Right.
And I'll have some reinforcements starting next week. We'll be working on this full time, so it'll be a little easier. But the main, like, for just to throw something out there, right? So today there are analysts like 650 and Del Oro and IDC Gartner who are tracking SONiC adoption, right? A very simple metric would be to see the SONiC share versus OEM share, and plot, more or less take share right, from what the analysts are reporting. So that's one very simple metric. Another metric you could see, be continued growth of users joining the SONiC community, and so forth. I mean, the many ways to track it. But the simplest one would really be, one of those analysts basically proving that there is growth by virtue of their market research.
Okay, great. Let's take it down. I have some opinion, but we can discuss later. Later, I would encourage everyone to bring their own, right? Metrics. Sunny, so to recap that what Kishore said, right? One metric is from the market research like group, right? The SONiC share market share versus OEM shares. Did I capture it right, Kishore? Sorry, you are muted. Kishore, are you still there? Okay, so I think he's muted. Like, I think if I capture it wrong, anyone who else can make a suggestion that please speak
Yeah,
up.
no, it looks good. Jin, maybe
Yeah.
we add, to quantify our effort, maybe we add 2 more case studies by end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I can certainly have the Dell IT case study contributed,
Mm-hmm. Great.
right? And that adds to our user advocacy and art of the possible thing. I'll speak with Broadcom as well to see if they can do something similar. And if anybody else, the new members, participating members, Cisco, Marvell, NVIDIA, anybody else wants to do it, we can have some. Do we have anything from Microsoft today in the case study? Can we do it?
I think I don't remember it. We published specific case study. I don't remember that for the dual tour when the case study is that published as a blog, or we actually actively talking about the user scenario in all sorts of presentation.
Yeah.
Not in this case. I think we could tentatively put down.
Yeah. And
Put
Dave
down.
could help us in that, if you're meeting at OCP, we can chat with Dave and see if he can help maybe a use case story on Azure, capturing some of the focus areas, because Azure is definitely one of the largest deployment, use cases. So 2 more use cases, maybe identify 1 more, a Walmart-like story from a user captured. Like Walmart was, our Dave Jenkins getting on stage was really cool, and Walmart had never shared, the details about the SONiC journey so far. So it was good to see how they've gone about deploying that. And we've been working with them like for almost 3 years now, thousands of switches in production. So maybe identify 1 more similar story like Walmart on the main stage. Mavenir was talking about it. Maybe reach out to Mavenir. This is from the SONiC India workshop. They spoke about what they're doing with SONiC on the ORAN side.
Right.
So capture their story from a telco perspective. I think that's one interesting use case. Mavenir, Mavenir.
And thank you, Saurabh, for the ideas. And I just want to make a quick comment here. It's for user stories. It's very tough to track the number of users or who download SONiC since it's free to grab. That's common challenge for all open source projects and the Linux Foundation, or just open source projects in general. So it really unless they come forward and tell us how they're using SONiC, it's very tough for us to know. So it really requires the members' effort, the community members' effort to really let us know who are deploying SONiC, how they're deploying it, and connect with me and the marketing team to really help them to tell the story. That's definitely the key to grow our user base.
Maybe for Mavenir, Sunny, if you could shoot a note to Ashay, maybe copy me, and he can connect us to the 2 reps we had from Mavenir. and see, like, if we can have a collateral done out of the session they did at the SONiC, summit in India. I mean, it's a public forum, so we have the recording for it. If you could do a blog post out of it, I'm sure Mabinair would be excited for this effort.
Will do.
And I'll do the Dell IT thing. I'll reach out to Broadcom as well, so you'll get a few more collaterals for end of the year.
Fantastic. And I believe the board, the success metric, at least for 2024, was to publish two case studies for the year. So we have already reached the goal, but definitely good to add more or even move forward with 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can add the Dell Digital thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll facilitate that. You can put me as an action item for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Did we get one from Supermicro? I think we were tracking that earlier.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they have not responded from my past emails. So if anyone here from who have know anyone active from Supermicro, would love to get connected.
I can get connection there. I can make the connection there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Measurable for us, one also to judge a community, right, is the active participant contributors. That there's one side is from marketing, right, from user side. The other one is the contributor or the community, how many people participate. It's a little bit hard to measure, but one thing is the contributors from GitHub and from the Linux Foundation ID, right? That one is one dimension. Even though, again, it comes back to technical or for the developer community, but that is one aspect of the community, and it's relatively easy to measure. It's hard to say how many other active participants in the event or attending our booth, but this one is easier to get it from LFID or GitHub.
Yeah, I believe this is also tracked on LFX as well. Is that correct, Tracy? I think we can easily grab that number.
I don't know, but you might be right, Sunny. We can definitely find out.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I did something similar for my other project. So yeah, we can look more into it.
Mm-hmm. One thing could be the new member joined the board. That is, I'm trying to find out a way, right, how to measure the adoption. To be fair, I think probably different people coming from different domains. That the adoption, many company will sometimes won't talk about it until they go big, right? And or they stabilize, or that until that it's a main thing for them. One thing for us is the people who apply, right? Apply to join either board or SONiC community, no matter what their adoption is. That is one type of measure of the community growth. I remember that each time in our board meeting, there are a few companies in the conversations of how to become a member, I think those are all potential, at least they're interested or they are adopting or they are helping to advocate SONiC.
I agree, Xin, and and this is something definitely Mike Wooster's team is working on and provide update regularly to the board. And this also closely tied to the events as well, since we collect a lot of those membership leads from the events and learning more about how they deploy SONiC or how they contribute and so on. So that's definitely closely tied.
We should uplift it. These are very technical metrics. When we uplift it to be like marketing related strategy, I think could look forward to get some help, like from like Kishore, Surab, like we have Ravi here, we have Arena and Vicky here. If you can help, like to make it more marketing strategic like goals, that will be great.
Absolutely, Jen. Happy to help.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Again, sorry. When is the time that we need to bring this back?
Yeah, it looks like we will have initial discussion today, and on the next Monday we have another outreach meeting. That's the meeting we should finalize 2025 priorities. And
I see.
Yep.
I see.
And
And
I
board
think
meetings.
sorry, Shin, I think there's a little bit of flexibility here. But I
Okay.
think the big thing to be aware of is the target for the SONiC board is to vote on the budget, approve it or vote it down at the November meeting. And so that's how, when Sunny and I were talking last week, we sort of came up with this timeline, because I think that it's never a good idea to ask the board to vote on something they're seeing for the first time in terms of like a budget at the same meeting. So usually kind of the best practice would be, let's give them a sense of what we're thinking in the October meeting, and then fine tune it based on the feedback and conversation, so that when we go into the November meeting, we feel pretty confident that we're just gonna vote yes. Now, if we're not quite there, we're not quite there, but that's the thinking. We would really like to make sure that two goals: one, they're going to be voting in November, we want to be ready for that, and two, I personally feel that it's a best practice to make sure the board is not seeing the budget for the first time on the same day you're asking them to vote on it.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
And just want to quickly mention one more thing around the metrics. I think this might be a good segue to this line graph I created end of last week. So basically this graph, I know it's hard to measure contributor growth directly from event participation, but we do have metrics like this. This is basically a LinkedIn impressions that I think that give us insights into overall SONiC, the interest that SONiC is generating during the events and some big marketing activities. So on the axis here represent the days throughout the year from January 1st to September 1st. And y-axis shows the number of impressions, aka the number of visits to our SONiC LinkedIn page. And you can see that there are spikes in engagement that align with some of the biggest events that we have had this year and marketing activities. I think this also can hopefully help to tell the story of like what are some big hits that we have for this year in terms of events or marketing and so on, that drives interest to the SONiC website, to the SONiC LinkedIn page, our social media, and so on.
That's nice. Okay, thanks for checking this interesting data. Looking forward to October, what will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't have the OCP data here, and I can assure you it will be a big spike for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, if with that, can we move to the next one? We have 12 minutes left. Okay, event. Stick to. We have, just reading out loud, we have one summit will come in, right? Oh, this is 2024. Is the purpose to look at 2025 that
Yes, sorry, I can give more background. Yeah, so I would love to discuss more about 2025 events planning, and assuming we have a similar budget as 2024, I think Tracy might be able to add more insights to that one. But here too, to help in terms of prioritize events, here basically I've listed out a number of key data points like number of attendees, number of sessions, and so on that we delivered for each event that hopefully can help us to prioritize on 2025 events.
okay, just give everyone 1 minute to read that before we start discussing. So in summary, like we have Linux Foundation One Summit. We have a regional event in Japan, China, India. We have also Europe is also associated with one OSS. And then we have OCP Summit. Those are, I think, most of them will repeat, right? Or we hope to see them again this year. The thing I see ending is the OCP Europe event.
Yeah, so I know we've got some inquiries on that for this year, and we since we didn't have the budget, so we couldn't plan for anything. But looking ahead at 2025, yeah, there is the OCP MEA event that we can attend, and they have reached out to us. They can offer a free SONiC booth as well, so that can definitely be a plus. For that event. And for One Summit, I've heard discussion that we might have a co-locate event at KubeCon for One Summit, and that will be a standalone event. We'll still co-locate with One Summit as this year, if that's the plan. So KubeCon, I think that's in the first half of 2025. That's not finalized yet, but it's
that's
a plan within the plan right now.
Yeah,
and we also got requests from Ashay in terms of expanding India event, just based on the continuous success that we've seen in the past couple of years.
right.
Yeah, and I don't think Ashay is here, but those are the three big buckets, things to consider for 2025.
Yeah, that's good. I think I'm thinking out loud, taking Vicky's input, right? What are the other like user groups or user conferences that could be? These are all very technical. From the user side, what could be the showcase?
The user side, there's ONUG, ONUG.
I see. Great.
I think that's probably one of the best. There's a lot of them though. I mean, if you want to go smaller and reach.
I mean,
So
not just that, there are several CIO forums that you could also go in and try to present at.
Yeah, that depends on your strategic decision on if that's your end user you want to target. But you said your core focus is Japan, India, and China. So there also may be something more regional to those specific areas if that's your core regional focus. I think ONUG is very interesting, extremely broad, but it's also very interesting, and it is your target audience and it's a variety of things. They're very heavily focused to I think insurance and banking. That may be a perfect target audience. I mean, I think those are somewhat the adopters. I don't think they're early adopters, but they are adopters of SONiC. They seem to be interesting customers.
I see. Is Nanlog also customer facing, or I only attend once? I actually
Did you say ONAD?
no Nanlog. I think it's Nanlog. NAGOG Nanlog. Let me search. I forgot.
So I've heard of it, but I don't remember what it's about.
Sure, it's network something. Okay, no, forget about it. Thinking out loud, oh yeah, Nanog, yeah, this is the event for networking side, but they have a lot of event, yeah. Thinking out loud that like Surab, let me see if Surab is still here. That like our events, right? I feel that usually when we go with the other big event, we have two ways. One is standalone workshop or conference. The other one is jointly or at a similar time of of their user or their big event in technologies could attract more users. For example, right, OCP, they do have a lot of not only technology, but also user coming. I wonder for in India, is there any like such big thing?
Yeah, so we have open source summit that
Right.
happens in India. Ashay has been participating there, is what I've learned. But he's certainly kind of open to seeking more help there from both sponsorship and enablement perspective. I think maybe doing something like a user panel there, talking about SONiC and open source networking, where we have a bunch of users kind of getting on stage, and it could be moderated by anybody, Microsoft or any of us here, and kind of capture the user stories, right? How
Yeah.
they did it, what they did, and how is this useful. So he's open to feedback and thought process. The other discussion I had with Ashay and Charu and the Microsoft leadership locally was, there are a lot of emerging engagements and activities happening in Asia region, right? But I've not seen enough collaterals come out of from these consulting organizations like Deloitte and KPMG, etc., who are usually roped in to to assist with RFP drafts and things like that, from a networking point of view. So maybe if we are able to have a session with these consulting companies, regarding these organizations as they modernize their data centers and ecosystems like that, and then build a collateral like a KPMG blog or something like that, talking about open source networking in SONiC, that can help us get good press locally. So those were, and then they really liked that idea. They said, this could be, really differentiating and can get some more branding around SONiC. So yeah, a couple of ideas there, Jane.
Thank you. Those are great. Yeah. I know that in the event in China is not a standalone, right? It's associated in similar for like a forum, like either with open source or use with user cases presented there. So yeah, that
Perfect.
from the China side. From Japan side, Sunny, we could also reach out to the organizer, right? To see if how they could associate it with some bigger event with more user, more like companies to be there. That could be one interesting idea. Yeah. Okay. I think we are here. Sorry, I have to drop at 9. This is a good conversation. Then does this help to budget or is too wide? Let me ask.
Do we have the dollar amount captured for these events?
Think not yet. The one repeating, right? From 2024, we could have a good idea. For the new ones, like ONOG, like others, it will be a little bit hard to estimate our form of participating there.
I was thinking maybe we list out like in a simple matrix, different events, and what do we think as a group, like are the priorities to each with some potential dollar amounts and impact. And how like it would be a function of what activities we're doing and also how we are spreading the word globally.
Right.
That will help the board kind of review and kind of sign off to whatever they can.
Right.
So we might have to synthesize this information in a simple matrix with some sort of ballpark prioritization for the board review.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's continue the discussing. Sorry, I have to drop. Yeah. Anything else, Sunny or Tracy? You think we should? Yeah.
No, just that this group is meeting next week. I know that is a little bit of a departure, but we had bumped last week's meeting because of the events going on. So I think it's good timing if this group can still plan on reconvening a week from today. I think that would be fantastic.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Then talk to you next week. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.